Hi, Nolan. Got Nolan, Sandra, and Grady. Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
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 Thanks for joining us. Glad you all could be here. Perfect. You're one of the early birds. That's good. I think a lot of people wait till after.
Yeah, can you extend the free coffee to Orange County for me?
Oh, bummer. Sorry. I don't know any coffee shops down there.
I don't either.
If you get the chance to go to, God, what's the bakery? It is absolutely best cream puffs you can buy. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's over in Laguna Hills. So,
Okay, I'll take a look. Yeah, 'cause I'm actually heading further south today to San Diego. So
okay.
All right. Well, I think we have
Scratch Bakery. That's what it is.
There you go.
I'll look that up. Thank you.
Oh, and I think here comes John. There's John. All right. Looks like we have everyone here. It's 8 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get going. Welcome everybody to Community Coffee. I'm Laura Kaler, Director of Communications and PR for Mammoth Lakes Tourism. We have a great lineup of panelists for everybody today, so thanks for joining us. Before we dive in, I'm just going to kind of go over all the housekeeping stuff that I go over every month. First off, don't forget to go out and get your free cup of coffee this morning. You have until noon today. And in addition to our usual coffee partners, which are Black Velvet, Starbucks on Main Street, Stellar Brew, and Looney Bean, this month we're also excited to welcome Mammoth Coffee Roasting Company as an option as well. Their shop is open over on Old Mammoth Road, so go check it out. They have some, Patricia went over there this morning, and if they have some great pastries and coffee and a great little setup. Okay, in terms of how things are going to go, we'll get through all of our speakers this morning. They'll give their presentations, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. And as usual, we ask that you stay muted and just put your questions in the chat box if you have them, and then I'll read them out loud, and the appropriate panelist will be able to answer them for you. So let's see, I'm going to go through and introduce everybody that we have on the panel today, and then we'll dive in. So we have Patricia Robertson, Executive Director for Mammoth Lakes Housing, joining us today. From the town of Mammoth Lakes, we have Sandra Moberly, Community and Economic Development Director, Grady Dutton, Special Projects Manager, and Nolan Bobroff. Did I pronounce that correctly, hopefully?
Bobaroff.
Bobaroff, thanks. And then we are also here from Ken Bringle and Brianna Goyko from the Chamber. And then John Morris, our MLT Board Treasurer, and John Erdy with Mammoth Lakes Tourism. So we're gonna start with Patricia. She has a great project to talk to us about today, the Access Apartments. So Patricia, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Laura. Like Laura said, I'm the Executive Director for Mammoth Lakes Housing. We're a local community housing development organization serving Inyo, Mono, and Alpine counties. And today I wanted to talk to the community about our most current development project, which is located at 238 Sierra Manor Road in Mammoth Lakes. It's a commercial conversion project of an existing commercial property that we are planning to convert into 11 one-bedroom apartments. And oops, I'm going to share my screen so I can show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is our current project, Access Apartments. As I mentioned, it's slated for 11 one-bedroom apartments with 5 garages and 7 surface parking spaces. It will also have secure bike storage and drought-conscious landscaping and some community gathering spaces. Mammoth Lakes Housing, the organization, purchased this property in 2017 through a partial land donation of the previous owner, who donated part of the value to Mammoth Lakes Housing as a nonprofit, so that we could acquire this property and transform it into affordable housing. The current total development cost is approximately $8 million. And we have 2 large state grants pending of almost about $5 million. I wanted to briefly mention the architects that we chose to go with, because I think that they really resonated with our development committee when we were selecting the architects, because of their values and their experience. We chose to go with Kevin Daly Architects. They have an office in Los Angeles and New York City. And we chose them because they have experience with transforming existing structures into new uses, and also have experience with public facility projects. They're an award-winning firm, and they're both environmentally and socially conscious. After purchasing the property in 2017, we proceeded to contract with the architects and do some public outreach in 2019. We held 2 community workshops that we had a Spanish-speaking architect and Spanish-speaking staff present. They were family-friendly events, and we had approximately 25 to 30 community members participate and provide feedback on the design of this project. As many of you probably know, this site is extremely walkable and central to our community. The address is 238 Sierra Manor Road. It's walkable to shopping, the schools, the health facilities, the library, Mono County Behavioral Health Services, public transit. You could really walk anywhere you need to go to get whatever you need from this site. And so this actually has really helped make this project competitive for grant funding because of its walkability. As I mentioned, we're proposing 11 one-bedroom apartments. They're on the larger side. They average around 700 square feet, very livable, good storage. We are initially proposing in-unit laundry. They'll have a kitchen, a bathroom, and a bedroom. There'll be 4 ground floor units, 1 ADA parking space, and then 1 parking space per unit. I wanted to share some pictures with the community. Here's the before photos of the 2 buildings on the site. This is before the proposed redevelopment of these structures. And then after, we're proposing 100% residential with 5 garage spaces for the tenants to utilize. And so it really is exciting to see how we can redevelop existing structures and change them into a vibrant neighborhood. Here it is in the winter. I know you wanted to see that. And so because we are utilizing state and federal funds to complete this project, the rents will be restricted to affordable limits. And these are the proposed income limits that we are proposing. 2 units at 50% of the area median income, 6 units at 60% of the area median income, and 3 units at 80% of the area median income. And you may remember from the 2017 Community Housing Action Plan that 1-bedrooms were identified as a need in the community, and rental units below 80% of the area median income were also identified as a need. And so this project is really trying to listen to the Community Housing Action Plan and respond to those needs that were identified. Here's some of the community members that might be able to live at this project. We have food service employees, single individuals, couples, small families, our workforce. Here's a snapshot of the financing that we are looking at to complete this project. In 2019, we submitted some grant applications in 2019 and 2020. And the development cost was approximately $6 million. After COVID and the long time lag between the grant applications and the awards, which are still pending, the cost of the construction has gone up considerably and is now around $8 million. And so Mammoth Lakes Housing is launching a fundraising campaign to help us close the gap for this project, which is considered shovel ready. We do have a building permit pending. We have the 100% design completed. We're really getting to the final stages. And so securing this last bit of financing is really what's going to push this project over the edge and make it a reality. Here are some of the other financing sources that we've secured or that we are still working to secure. This project will take out a permanent loan, so it will have debt to repay on a monthly basis. The home grant and the CDBG grant are also loans, but they can be residual receipts. So we would pay those back as income from the project becomes available. We are looking to work with Union Bank on a grant called the Affordable Housing Program Grant. And so we'll be working with them this winter on that grant application. The town of Mammoth Lakes has contributed $1.5 million to this project, which has really helped us keep up momentum and assured our state funders that this is really an all hands on deck situation and that the community is really excited about this project and would like to see it come to fruition. And so that is a really important component of the financing of this project. Mono County Social Services has agreed to give us some grant funding that they have secured through their programs. Mammoth Lakes Housing will take a developer fee, but we will defer a portion of that over a long period and collect a small amount annually to help us create more projects in the region. We are working with IMACA to secure some homelessness financing grants in the amount of about $260, I'm hoping. We received the land donation, obviously that's $50,000 towards the total cost. I'm also in conversations with the Kern Regional Center, who is the local regional entity that provides services to the developmentally disabled population. And so we're hoping that we can partner together and secure some funding through the state that they have access to. And then we're currently working with local entities on fee waivers so that we can reduce our fees and make this project more viable. We're in conversations with the water district, the town of Mammoth Lakes, the fire district, the school, and also the library. And so we're still looking at a gap of approximately $1 million. As I mentioned, the Mammoth Lakes Housing Board is excited to launch a fundraising campaign for this project. They have established a fundraising committee, which is very, very excited and has lots of great ideas about how we can help support this project, which, as you saw on the last slide, all of the different funding sources has really become a community project. You know, we have all different entities contributing, the town of Mammoth Lakes, the Kern Regional Center, IMACA, Mono County. All of these entities want to help this project become a reality and bring 11 new one-bedroom apartments to our affordable housing stock. And so I think launching this fundraising campaign couldn't come at a better time, as we ask the community to help us create affordable housing. So here's just a flyer that we put together explaining our fundraising efforts and the project. We have defined some sponsorship opportunities. And so I'll say to date, we have received some Friends of Access up to $1,000 in donations. We've also received a $5,000 donation in the Windows of Opportunity level. The town of Mammoth Lakes obviously has contributed $1.5 million. They're community housing stewards at the top of the sponsorship tiers. And so we're excited to provide these sponsorship opportunities to the community as we all work together to create community housing. Folks can easily make a contribution on our website. We have our PayPal QR code, which is easily accessible. You can mail a check or stop by our office and visit. We're at 587 Old Mammoth Road on the bottom level near Tied Up. And as I mentioned previously, we're a nonprofit organization. And so any donations comply with that regulation. And so our tax ID number is also available. A little bit more about Mammoth Lakes Housing. I know I mentioned we're a nonprofit housing developer. We serve Inyo, Mono, and Alpine counties. We're coming up on our 20th anniversary. We were founded in 2002 to help address the lack of workforce housing in the region. And to date, we have developed 82 rental units and 48 ownership units. I think this is important information that everybody have, because working with a nonprofit is essentially different than working with a for-profit entity, in that when jurisdictions partner with the nonprofit, any proceeds that we receive or donations that we receive go to serving our mission, which is to support community housing. And here we have the infamous 395 house with our mission here. Communities in the Eastern Sierra thrive because everyone has access to safe, affordable, quality housing. And so that's why we're working really hard to create these 11 one-bedrooms in Mammoth Lakes. And we hope that we can replicate this model in other areas of the region, like in Bishop, for example, or perhaps Bridgeport. We have a 9-member board of directors. 1/3 of those represent the low-income community. We have an executive director and one other full-time staff person, Diane Doonan, who's our grant and financial associate. And currently we have one part-time intern. Recently, we've also had a couple of volunteers who helped us with the 4th of July parade and also some office administration, which has been extremely helpful. I wanted to share a little bit more about myself. I think it's important that we all recognize that we're all people doing the best that we can. I've worked for Mammoth Lakes Housing since 2013. And I previously worked for the town of Mammoth Lakes designing and implementing the TOT enforcement program. I have a Master of Arts in Community and Regional Planning, and I'm a licensed California realtor. And I just really love this picture. This is a picture of me and my second son working on the home application for this Access Apartments project. And so I really wanted to emphasize that Mammoth Lakes Housing, our board of directors and staff, are extremely excited about trying to replicate this rural infill development model in the region. There's a regional need for more than 1,000 homes at affordable levels. We want to help facilitate a home's jobs balance to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote quality of life. Because when our workforce has to travel potentially 100 miles to get to their job, it really reduces the amount of time they can spend with their families, and we want to help promote better quality of life for our workforce. MLH is an expert in solving the unique challenges that we face as a rural community. I think this project is a great example of that. Obviously, doing an infill project comes with specific challenges that a raw piece of land may not have. But also our smaller projects face more difficult financing challenges. We're not as competitive for large grants. And as you could see in the financing structure, we have to compete for 20 or more smaller pots of money just to make a small project feasible. But as we learn from this project and other projects that we've been involved in, we really do believe that this model is something that we could replicate. And we obviously want to contribute to everyone's goal of living and working and playing in a beautiful place. I just want to say thank you to everybody for listening to our exciting project and considering a contribution to Access Apartments, our newest affordable housing development in the town of Mammoth Lakes. And I look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. That was great. And you know, I should have kind of given an overview at the beginning. The goal of this meeting is to give a holistic view of, you know, all of the different pieces that are currently being worked on by different agencies around town to help with our, you know, housing issues for our community. We do have a question in the chat box that it is specific to this project. So I'm going to go ahead and read it before we head over to our town employees that are here joining us as well. The question is, did I understand correctly that the low income housing project is about $10 million, running over budget and only creating 11 units? I'm not familiar with projects like this, so maybe it is a big win, but is it really a big win if it's $1 million per unit? Is there any optimism that the town can meet 50% of the need by 2024, let alone 2022? Like I said, I'm new to this, but it doesn't seem like a path to resolution. So maybe Patty, you can address the costs, and then hopefully, you know, as we get into what the town is working on and all the other projects that are, you know, coming into play, that will help answer the meeting the need question as well.
Yeah, so the project's not over budget. It's the cost of construction has gone up over time, and so the budget has changed over time. And you'll see that throughout the state on market rate projects and affordable projects alike. Affordable projects obviously have more challenging financing than market rate projects, and so that's why we have to find state and local grants to help make affordable projects work. Otherwise, we would just be building market rate housing. I think that the cost per unit is an interesting question, although I guess if we don't, you know, the alternative is that we don't have affordable housing. And so the cost per unit doesn't scare me. And I think that if we want affordable housing, we'll do what it takes to make it a reality. And, you know, I've heard recently that costs might be coming down a little bit. And so the project budget will be changing, you know, throughout the life of the project until we secure all of our financing and begin construction, which we hope to, I would hope to begin construction in summer of next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think it's great, you know, this project is going to be using an existing building, you know, using what's there already. So that's kind of a pro as well. I'm going to shift over to our town representatives. I'm not sure which one of you is going to go first, but I know you guys have a lot going on in terms of, helping the housing crisis, we'll call it. And I think the parcel is probably the one that people have heard of most, but I think you got a lot of other things to talk about. So take it away, whoever is going to go first, Grady, Nolan, or Sandra.
I can just kind of give a brief introduction. So the town, we have a kind of an overall housing work program where we do a variety of different projects and programs that are intended to increase the amount of affordable housing in our community. That includes, applying for and securing grants, building projects, financing projects, working with Mammoth Lakes Housing on their projects. I think the biggest project that we have worked on at this point is the parcel. I would expect that most people are aware of the parcel. It's a 25-acre piece of property right in the center of town. We purchased it in 2018. After we purchased it in 2019, we conducted a year-long conceptual planning process where we engaged the public. We had a number of different charrettes, meetings with the council, commissions, those types of things, and came up with a preferred plan at the end of 2019. In 2020, we went through the entitlement process to establish a master plan, which is basically the zoning for the site, sets the heights, setbacks, those types of things, density. And that was approved in early 2021. And so over the past 8 months or so, we've been working on getting the construction drawings done, grading, those types of things. I think I'll hand it over to Grady, who can give you some exciting news about the parcel. So go ahead, Grady.
Well, thanks, Sandra, and thanks for that history. The one piece of history I want to jump back to is I shared with town council a couple of weeks ago a newspaper article in the LA Times from August 4th of 1996. It was 25 years to the date from the council meeting where we talked about this, and it talked about the controversy of the parcel, the upcoming land exchange, how Mr. Tanner Sr. Was arranging to swap some land with the Forest Service in the Golden Trout Wilderness to get the parcel into private hands for affordable housing. That happened sometime after that point, but there was a lot of controversy back then. And I will share that article with all of you because it has some interesting comments about, frankly, about snowboarders and things like that. There's also some discussion about upcoming hotels and the need for housing for those employees. So the story is the same 25 years later. Sandra went through most of the history already, so I'm not going to jump back into the planning part of it, but I just want to mention from my experience, and I'm not going to go into my own background. If you have any questions, I'm happy to do that in terms of development and residential development specifically. But suffice it to say that if we purchased a piece of property in early 2018 and the town council started allocating resources later in 2018, it's gone very quickly to where we are today. And my focus, I want to get you all excited about, is where we are today. Next Wednesday, we expect to have the first trees start to come down. Next Wednesday, September 1st, we expect to move. Pacific will move on site. Pacific Development is our development partner from Eagle, Idaho. We expect to move on site next Tuesday or Wednesday and start taking trees down. It'll be the first 81 units of a 450 plus unit project. They'll be delivered in spring of 2023. So it's about a year and a half through 2 winters to get them occupiable, of course. But again, 81 units. And I think Sandra has some unit mixes. If she was able to find that chart, we can share that in a minute. But again, I just want to get everybody excited about it because it's a mixed project. The town received a $20 million infill infrastructure grant to support the project. The town spent $6.5 million of their own funds to acquire it, and a little less than $1 million so far in development costs. So it's significant. We do have partners in Mono County that are involved with the project as well for some supportive housing. The project includes a significant amount of transit. It is, seriously, if you look at a map of Mammoth, it is in the middle of the town. It's the first, project of this size the town has ever seen, 450 units. And frankly, it will be the last unless we acquire Forest Service land in the out things and increase our municipal boundary, because there aren't any parcels left. It includes a park area in the first phase. It includes some community space and space for daycare, which we're working with Amaka and others on as well. So the big thing I want to do is just say get excited about this. It's very real. 81 units is not quite the number of units that you need. Patricia has a waiting list that, depending on how you characterize it, it's either 88 units or up to 120. But it's significant, and we think that'll satisfy a lot of that demand if those folks end up wanting to move in and end up working. But we're really looking forward to it. We're actually working on phase 2 already. We talked to Pacific about what phase 2 might look like. It could be 60 units, could be 100, but it's something that would follow the next year. Okay, the very next year we could be under construction with phase 2 and keep it moving. So, Sandra, did you want to share some of the unit counts or the sizes? I know there's a variety of units, 1 managed unit and 80 for rent.
Sure, yeah. So just briefly, phase 1 will include 21 studio units, 18 1-bedrooms, 22 bedrooms, and 21 3-bedrooms. And they'll all be a range of affordability between 30% and 80% AMI. And just to mention, the town received a grant last year, it was last year, yeah, for $20 million for infrastructure. It was really the first grant of its kind of this amount to a rural community. So really kind of paving the way for funding for this project. So that grant is intended to cover, the roads, the podium parking for the project, and most of the infrastructure for the project. So that was a really big win for our community, and that's really kind of helping, like I said, pave the way for this project. So as Grady mentioned, 81 units for phase 1, and then working on phases 2 through phases 6, trying to kind of look at the best locations for those phases, what makes the most sense with the infrastructure that we're putting in. But that should be coming before the Planning Commission and Town Council, I would say, in the next 4 to 6 months for phase 2. So I think the developer has expressed that their goal is to have a phase come online every year. So once we kind of get going, we'll just kind of continuously on with the entitlements and then continue on with the construction.
Say, Sandra, real quick, not to interrupt, but Town Council has caught us a few times too. We throw about that term AMI a lot, area median income. Could you just give a little summary of what that means? And believe me, all these units are affordable housing. I think this first phase is from 30% to 60% of AMI, in fact. So if you could describe what AMI is. Thank you.
Right. So the area median income, I think Patricia hit on it a little bit in her presentation. Basically, the state assigns or determines an area median income for each county every year. And I think Nolan, you might have the numbers, but I believe that our area median income is around $89,000 for a 4-person household. So it goes into, once we actually are looking to bring those units online, there's a calculation that occurs to determine the maximum rent or the maximum home purchase price. And, Patricia gave a good summary of the rents for 238 Sierra Meadow Road. So it gives you kind of an idea of what those rents would be in those different income categories. But yeah, it's certainly affordable, and yeah, nothing else on that. Grady, you have any other questions or thoughts?
The only thing I'd like to add is that, and this group is a good one to start with, a lot of people are very familiar with Mammoth Lakes housing, and they have a significant wait list, and we think that'll be plenty to fill up phase 1 and far into the future. But I do informal, let's call them surveys, as I'm around town, whether I'm sitting at Black Velvet or Cellar Brew or any other coffee shops or any place else, doctor's offices, you name it. And I always ask people, have they heard about the parcel? And it's amazing to me that regardless of how many public meetings I've attended and outreaches and workshops and everything else, I would say 90% of the people that are probably in the income range that would move in there are not aware of it because they're not focused. If they have a place to live, they're not focused. If they don't have a place to live, yes, they're calling Patricia's office and looking for help. So I just ask everybody, whenever you can, just talk it up. Just let people know this is real. This is coming, a significant investment by the community, by the town council, by the state, everybody to make this happen. And let's just get the word out a little bit better. It's interesting. I'm not worried about it filling up. believe me, there's plenty of people that need housing. So it's not an issue of getting people into the apartments. It's just, people should be excited about this. I mean, this is 25 years plus in the making, and we're starting to work on site next week. And it should be something the town should be very excited about. So thank you.
And then I think we've got Nolan Bobroff on the call. He's our housing coordinator for the town. So I think he has a couple of items that he'd like to hit on as well as part of the town's kind of housing work program.
Great, thank you all. So yeah, in addition to the parcel and the 238 Sierra Manor Road projects, those projects are very important for that target population of that 80% below. The town's also focusing on a number of other projects that would focus on slightly higher AMI levels. Just to touch again on that AMI level, the median income is $81,200 for a family of 4 in Mono County. And then that gets broken out based on the income families can afford. So for example, the 80% level for a household size of 1 comes in at $45,300, and for a family of 4 at 80% AMI, it's $64,700 income. And then at the 120% level, a family size of 1, the income limit is $68,200, and for a family of 4, it's $97,450. So that just gives some kind of framing of what we're talking about when we're talking about the different income limits. So as I said, the town in the near term, that's hopefully have permits in place by the end of 2022. We're looking at the 81 units for the parcel. We're also seeking out 18 additional units through a variety of projects targeted at that 120% AMI level. So one project we're currently working on is we recently purchased a vacant parcel at 60 Joaquin Road. We're looking to release an RFP in the next few months for a design build. We're looking at constructing 6 units on that parcel, deed restricted at 120% level. Those would be 1 and 2 bedroom units. Ideally, the town would retain ownership and use them as rental units for the market. The purpose for looking at 120% is it's really a different target group than the parcel in 238 Sierra Manor. And also, this project would be town funded because projects at that 120% level require alternative financing because state and federal grants aren't available for projects at that AMI income level. So the town is looking to put in, or town council recently allocated $3 million to the project. So we're looking to use that for the design and construction of the project. So just kind of a cap on the goals we're looking at. By the end of 2022, we're looking at to have 102 units permitted. That's the parcel plus the 18 units the town's looking at. And then included in that is three properties that would be purchased with grants, so home ownership assistance. And then by the end of 2025, we're looking at having 97 to 177 units permitted. So that includes the 11 units for 238 Sierra Manor Road, plus phase 2 of the parcel, which can be a range of units, depending on how the phasing works. And so that range looks like either from, so I don't have it up, about 87 units to 165 units. So total by end of 2025, that would give us 200 to 280 units of affordable housing permitted and construction began. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Laura.
Thank you all so much. I think to Grady's point, like, and the point of this meeting is things are happening. Like this is happening. It's been a long time in the making, but we're getting really close to having some solutions for our workforce. So thank you all for working so hard at what you're doing to make this happen. Even if it's been 25 years in the making, it's exciting because it's kind of right around the corner. And I guess kind of to follow up on that, there are still some people, that I've heard from that think things need to happen sooner than 2023. So kind of how would you guys respond to that about, that we need housing right now? I know you're all moving as fast as you can, but I know that that's a question out there in the community is what are we doing right now? So I'll let anybody kind of, if you want to comment on that.
So I think I'll start. We have a relatively comprehensive housing program, and while we're not going to bring online hundreds of units right now, we are trying to facilitate home ownership for unit by unit. We're looking at pretty much any creative way we can get units online. So it doesn't kind of make town news, but we are working with developers on one unit here, one unit there, really trying to get those units online. So we are working on that. But I think this might be a good opportunity for Ken and his team just to talk a little bit about the tenant landlord matching program that is bringing units online. I mean, it is putting people into homes. And I think when we think about affordable housing, really that's the goal, is getting people into affordable homes. So, and I think, Ken has a good success story of getting, having those matches occur and getting some people into homes. So.
Perfect. Thank you for the transition. So, and I know Ken has some updates with.
I can give a real quick history. I think, what Nolan, Grady, and Sandra talked about, we were involved with the workforce housing, or the housing action plan that came out. We helped through our foundation, helped do the community housing summit that we did. And out of that, with also our business expansion and retention survey that we did back in, I think it was 2017 and was published in 2018, 79% of our members said at 79% that was workforce available or affordability and availability of housing for their workforce was the number one issue. And the second issue was lack of candidates with adequate training and so forth, workforce development. So workforce housing and workforce development were the two top issues that our members were facing. And we decided, what could we do to try to change that? So we went to the town and we worked out our workforce housing program, which was more to look at how we could immediately address with second homeowners, would they be willing to move from, short-term rentals to long-term? And there were, some barriers to that. And so we hired Curtis Shapiro, and he helped put together the workforce housing website that's on inside of our website at the chamber. And with that, we have a listing of renters. We have a place for second homeowners to register, and employers to register, so that we could have employer verification that, yeah, these people are actually working in the local workforce. And then property managers and so forth, that companies, cleaning companies that could sign up, so that we knew they would have contacts probably with homeowners that might be willing to look at moving from short-term to long-term. We started the program. We did a survey last summer to second homeowners, and basically since the beginning, when we started like June 1st or July 1st of 2019, we've matched about 58 renters with long-term rentals, second homeowners. We're continuing to keep that program going. We have a lot more renters than we have available units. That's always been, we only had one on our website. It was a 1-bedroom, and we're still getting people, and I don't know where exactly the homeowner is on renting that 1-bedroom. And that's, it's going to be sharing the house with the homeowners and so forth. I don't know where they're at on selecting somebody, but people inquiring about that 1-bedroom unit, it hasn't stopped. People continually are coming to us, say, is it still available? Can I get to it? So what we need to do, we created a video that we hope we can get out to the second homeowners, that talks about what the issue is and whether or not they could help us by looking at doing long-term instead of short-term. We will continue to do that. Curtis left us. We've hired Melissa Bell. She used to work with the county and town planning departments. She knows a lot of the issues out there. She'll be starting September 7th, and we'll continue the matching program. One of the things that we knew that came out on a survey we did of the second homeowners was their number one issue was pre-qualifying the tenants. So we have, through our program, you can get your background and credit check done. It's a $30 cost to the renter. But once they get that completed, we keep it on file. So if they're looking at a place, we can send that off quickly to a homeowner and let them know what the credit and background check is for that person. So we've continued that. I think when Melissa gets on board, we've got to start talking about what's the next step of reaching out to the second homeowners. We've got 58% of our homes sit vacant, 90% of the time. And some people may come up for a weekend or two and they still have that place, available the rest of the time. So we've got to start figuring out what the next step of reaching those people will be. But we will continue the matching program. We've got it on our website. Like I said, we've got plenty of renters. We just need to figure out how we get more units and what would draw them to our program. But ours was try to get as quick as possible. Ours was more of the immediate, as Sandra pointed out, if we could get, so we got 58 matches in the last year and a half, 2 years. That's, better than what we were at. It's comparable to what the matching programs are in Tahoe and Truckee. So we feel confident that we're doing the right thing. We just need to figure out how we can increase the inventory. And that's been our issue.
Thanks so much, Ken, for that update. We do have another question in the chat box. Before I read that question, Patricia, I wanted to ask if you could possibly put maybe in the chat box, going back to the Access Apartments, where people can donate if they are interested, just so people have that at their fingertips and can share with others that may be interested. And then the question here in the chat box, can someone on the panel please address the town's strategy to address illegal short-term rentals in town?
I can hit on that. The town, we actually have a pretty comprehensive, short-term rental enforcement team. We do take anonymous tips. We do investigate those tips, and we do, move forward with recouping any funding that the people have, any illegal rentals have brought in. I can post the information in the chat box for either an email address or phone number if anyone has illegal short-term rentals that they're aware of and would like to report them to the town. We have been very successful with that program, and it has, I think it has really, we've seen kind of over the last 5 to 7 years just kind of a steady increase in TOT, and I do think that there is some piece of that increase in TOT that is directly related to our enforcement program. So we're happy to follow up on those, and I will post that information in the chat box.
And just to let you know, I did put the link to the video, the workforce housing video, in the chat box. So.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Okay, and then for our last speakers, John Morris with the MLT board. While MLT is not in the housing business, we are supportive of all of these housing efforts. Obviously, housing is a key component to keeping our tourism economy running. So John Morris and then perhaps John Erdy just wanted to comment briefly on how our support.
Sure. Thanks, Laura. Morning, everybody. Don't want to get too much into the weeds on this, but basically MLT supporting a supportive housing kind of comes into three little categories. The first one has to do with our tourism reserve. MLT, as most of you know, receives a certain amount of funding through Measure A. And that amount on an annual basis is capped based on whatever the town's budget is. There's a finite amount that goes to MLT. Anything that comes in above that amount goes into the tourism reserve, which was set up basically to be a joint bucket for the council and for MLT to be able to work together on specific projects related to tourism, whatever they may be. And John, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think around fiscal year 18-19, it might have been 19-20, can't remember which one it was. The council came back and said, we all recognize that housing is critical. We're at a crisis point and we really need more funding for this. So it was agreed upon that the tourism reserve that MLT would no longer be using those funds could be set aside and used for housing. MLT board has recommended that to continue on into the future at this point. We have simply recommended to the town council that they use those funds for housing. Whether the town council uses it for housing or for other purposes, it's really their purview, not ours. But the important thing is that amount, the difference between what MLT receives on an annual basis and then what goes into that tourism reserve roughly is about $1 million a year, maybe plus or minus, depending on how good the TOT year is versus the budget. So that's one source. Those funds are available to the council and to the town to use for housing. And that's somewhere around $1 million a year on the average. The second really just has to do with MLT's marketing efforts. And the more that MLT can help bring more TOT into the town, it gives the town the availability of funds to be able to use towards housing. Obviously, there's a difference between what the town budgets for TOT versus what the town brings in, and they have their own reasons for doing that, and we're supportive of that. But the important thing is the more money or the more TOT that's brought in, the town keeps 70%, I believe, of that into the general fund. So there's the availability of those funds to be used for whatever projects the council sees that they need to, but housing being one of them. So for example, in a year like this past year, I think the budget was around $11 million and the TOT was around $15-16 million. So there was about a $5 million difference there. Again, those funds can be used by the town, most of them for whatever projects they need, one of them being housing. So MLT board continues to try to market Mammoth as best we can, not only bringing more visitors here, and I want to be a little careful about how I word this, but also during peak demand times, allowing businesses such as mine at Snow Creek to be able to, do revenue management and whatever revenues we bring in, the 13% of that is TOT. So that it's not just about how many people come here, it's about how much we can charge, honestly. So those two things together all go into the mix of what TOT is. So that's sort of the second part of it, helping to continue to have the town have more revenue available to be additional revenues to be able to use towards housing. So that's the second way that MLT helps. The third way would be simply with special projects, such as the one that Patricia talked about, other things that MLH or Town of Mammoth Lakes might come up with for housing. If there's a specific need, the MLT board can consider that. We have both TOT and TBID funds that can be used for projects. TBID is a little more difficult because that has to be a specific need to the payers into the TBID. So we have to be a little more careful about the funds there. But there certainly is the potential for funding to be used for projects to help out housing from MLT as well. So those are kind of the three areas in which MLT is supportive of housing. And we obviously, our board, we're all business people. We all recognize the critical nature of being able to have better affordable housing here in town. Anecdotally, I've tailored my business to my staffing level. That's the way we are right now. If I have more staff available, I can grow. If I don't, I can't. So we certainly see the need for having more people here and that sort of thing. So I think that's it on my end, John. If you wanted to either fact check me or correct anything, I probably glossed over a few things, but I think that's the gist of it.
No, you hit it pretty well. I think the biggest thing here is that we, Mammoth Lakes Tourism, our staff and our board recognize that, like everyone else, we know that we live and die on tourism here in town, and it's not something we can necessarily just shut off. It's our goal to try and control it as much as possible, bring the right people here that can respect the community and the environment. And like John said, the funding that comes in can be used to support that frontline staffing that we have. And I think the parcel is a great example of that. We can't survive as a community if we don't have wait staff, if we don't have front desk people, if we don't have housekeepers. We need to find a place for them to live. So, we are definitely a strong partner with the town, and we continue to be a partner with the town in every way that we can possibly help the cause. I think the one piece that John didn't mention was back in 2017 when the tourism reserve, we also had our portion of TOT went from 2.5 points to 2.35 points, which when you think about a 0.15 change not being a huge amount of money, that is about $200,000 a year as well, not to mention the business license tax that's available. So, we're doing our part, partnering with the town. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to look at opportunities to assist in programs. We'll continue to look at opportunities to grow the revenues during the need times. I think that one of the things that we've talked about is that we are busy for 45 days during the summer, from July 1 through August 15th. We tend to be very busy. This year we had a lot more respectful visitors, but if you look at the occupancy report that came out yesterday, next Tuesday is 18% occupied in town. So we definitely fell off a cliff there when we got to August 15th. So we do recognize the 45 days of summer being peak visitation, and we need to manage that. But then there are 320 other days during the year that we really need to still continue to attract people here, frankly, to support our community. So, and like John said, the more that we have those dollars come in during the shoulder seasons with less impact on the businesses, actually a better impact on the businesses because they can stay in business, those dollars can be utilized to move forward and get these great projects the town's working on done. So we look forward to continuing to partner with them.
Awesome. Thank you both. Been a really great overview today. Got a lot of stuff in the chat box for people to look at. I'm also going to add in here where you can see the recording of this event today and maybe share it with others that couldn't make it. We will have it up on our MLT Industry Insider site by tomorrow at the latest. And then we also always send a recording out in our weekly 5 and 5 newsletter, which comes out on Fridays. So there's the link to the Industry Insider. Grady also shared that LA Times article. Thank you. Very cool. So I don't see any other questions regarding housing. We do have a question in the chat box regarding events that, this is community coffee, so totally open to people and all the questions that they have. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and I'm not sure who will be best to answer it, but anybody can jump in. Let's see. It says, thanks again for all your hard work in these crazy times being as crazy as they are. Why are the concert events being allowed to continue during arguably the most severe portion of the pandemic? With fires threatening Tahoe, deteriorating air conditions, vaccination rates flattening, efficacy of the vaccination falling, an audience that will primarily be from Southern California counties, doesn't this unnecessarily put Mono County residents at risk and the hospital under potential strain? So I don't know if anybody on the panel, we don't really have any experts on this, but John, maybe you could comment on events at least. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think with the events, everything is following the state guidelines. Really, the only guidelines that have changed have been with indoor events with a maximum of 1,000 people requiring vaccines or recent tests. I think the idea still is that most of the events being outside, especially here in Mammoth, where yes, we do have some highly concentrated events, but you've also got pretty rapid air movement here in town. To say it's windy is an understatement. But I think that just following the state guidelines is really where we've been there. And I think as far as the hospital, in talking with Tom Parker at the hospital, the big thing right now is really, we do have about 80% of the county vaccinated. And I'll put a plug in here that we're starting vaccine clinics up for booster shots and really just trying to get folks back in now that FDA has fully approved Pfizer. So we start those September 3rd. We'll have a clinic 2 to 4 p.m. And then we'll have a range of those dates coming out as well. But as a county, we're well vaccinated. Yes, people coming into town might be bringing this in. The biggest impacts have been on the folks that have been unvaccinated. So we encourage everyone to get vaccinated as quickly as possible because the effects are definitely showing up far less. I'm not a doctor, but I can read the news. And so I think that the events right now, we do have, I would say that 99% of our events are outdoor events. And I think that until the state makes those changes, obviously people have the opportunity to attend or not attend based on their concerns. And so we are working our best to make sure that we can continue to protect the community as much as possible. I apologize, I have to run as well. I've got a FAA call for our air service.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. We're just gonna do our trivia question real quick and then we can wrap things up. But thank you so much. And thank you to all the panelists. Really appreciate everyone's time. So we'll quickly do our trivia question because I know a lot of people may be waiting around for that. Okay, this month's question. So how many total housing units did Nolan tell us we hope to have online by 2025? Not yet. I think at 2025. It was a bit of a bigger number, I think he said. Oh,
More than 2.
yeah. Well, Patricia's getting close. Anybody else want to take a shot? All right, Patricia, you were the closest. I think he said, and Nolan, correct me if I'm wrong, between 200 and 228. Is that correct?
Yeah, we hope to have 200 to 280 by 2025.
Oh, 280. Okay, so I was incorrect, but Patricia, you are still the closest one. So congrats. I'll reach out to you afterwards to get you your prize.
Thanks. It's maybe a little bit unfair, but since I'm a little bit of an expert on housing, but thank you everybody for talking about housing for our community. I thought this was an excellent community coffee and I'm excited to participate in the future. So thank you.
Awesome. And thanks again to everybody. Have a great day. Go get your free cup of coffee. Thank you.